season has been brought to you by Radisson Red, Johannesburg, Rosebank. Style you can bank on. Great day, everyone. It's an amazing day. It's Friday. And on Fridays, I get to hang out with my girlfriend across the pond over in South Africa. You already know the story, so I'm not going to even talk about her many boyfriends. Um, I'm a jealous man. I'm just letting you know, Charmaine. But I digress. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. I'm I'm doing fabulous. Well, it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more jealous because we have a damn looking guy coming into the room today.
And
he's
she's like, he's got dimples.
Okay, guys, forgive me. Well, Ed, on a more serious note, besides the chef is good looking, on a more serious note, I love our Fridays
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I get to spend time with you. But more importantly, we get to spend time with people that are actually advancing progress.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the chef doesn't need this platform, to be quite
Mm-hmm.
honest, but just to be able to come on and just share these stories just helps us achieve our mission, right? To inspire and
Yeah.
ignite hope and bring amazing people together. So that's why my Fridays are so amazing, not because
Well,
it's before the weekend, it's because spending time with you and another amazing man that's going to be coming in shortly.
well, let's bring the man, the myth, the legend in to the show. Chef Stephan Baity, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, I was showing that dimple as soon as that camera came on.
I saw you turn to the side.
I love it, actually. um,
Don't be shocked if you have women from all over the world hitting you up now, like, hey,
I didn't even
hey,
think about
dimples.
that. Yeah.
I mean, he's talented. He's won all those awards in the back. He's good looking and he has a good heart, right? So,
Yeah.
Chef Beatty, it's an absolute privilege to have you in the Ubuntu house, and thank you for waking up so early and spending time with Ed and I. So grateful to
Oh,
have
no.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
So
thank you. Yo, Ed is good. Good. Ed is my people. So if you know, Ed got me up this early in front of a computer. I'd have been walking around in my slippers and my robe still. If it wasn't
we're
for
in three
Ed.
time zones on this show. We're in three different time zones on this show. So it's morning here, but early morning where he is, and Charmaine over in Africa it's afternoon. So her day's half pretty much over. But
Love
Chef,
it.
man, I thank you for joining us. I had the pleasure of meeting Chef. I think it was 2019 when we first met and had a
Mhm.
conversation. And I just sat there and my jaw hit the floor because I'm like, this guy right here. I'm like, he's the real deal. But more importantly, just an amazing individual, selfless individual. And I said, you know what? I want to stay connected with him simply because of the characteristics he's shown during the time that we've known each other. Chef, I'd love for you to tell people about your story, who you are, where you came from, and how did you get into the culinary arts. And then after you do that, then we'll start talking about all the stuff that you've done in the culinary arts.
Okay, before you get there, are those dimples real?
Oh, these are 100%. These are. So I'm gonna tell you, I have two older brothers, and they're very cruel. So they used to tell me they had me convinced when I was younger that I was not like a full-blooded brother, that like I was adopted or something, because there's no way I could be this tall and have these dimples and still keep the bloodline pure. So
Oh, that's
Oh, I love it.
uh, sibling rivalry, clearly.
little bit, little bit, little bit. But that's part of the journey. Also, is that upbringing and family and community. And so, food is community, and food is therapy, right? And food is one of those things that, in my world, that was it was a necessity. And growing up the way we grew up, it was one of those things that leveled the playing field, so to speak. And food was one of those things that I could honestly say was not on my radar to be a career, but God has a way of putting people in your life for reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. And I met a woman who ultimately changed the direction of my life simply by following her dreams and her goals and being authentic. And I met this woman, Rebecca Leibowitz, in high school. And I was on the wrestling team, and all of the upperclassmen, we would walk to practice together. And there was two twins that was on the wrestling team, Vernon, and they were in the culinary arts program at my high school at McKinley Senior High. And we had a full-fledged restaurant that was open. It was the real deal, full-fledged. And I would stop into the restaurant to wait on Vernon so we could go to practice. And Mrs. Leibowitz would kick me out of the kitchen every single day. Now, because I'm a very upstanding gentleman and very respectful of authority, I complied with very little resistance. Yeah, I ran my mouth to Mrs. Leibowitz. And Mrs. Leibowitz made a statement. She says, Steve Baity, if you join my class, I'll make a man out of you. And I said, now mind you, I'm 6'3". Rebecca Leibowitz is only like 4'9". I looked down at this little Greek woman talking to me, and I said, "Game on." And we we bantered back and forth for about 6 months. I know this is a great story. I really,
It is, definitely.
but I was only in the 10th grade at the time. You had to be either the 11th grade or a senior to enroll into this program. So I had to wait to the next school year to enroll. And I never forget that day that I walked into the kitchen. I threw my hands up and I was like, "I'm here, Mrs. Lave." And I didn't even call her by her full name. I'm here, Mrs. Lave. And I was just a total distraction. I was a nuisance. I was unmotivated. I was a clown, and I was just constantly just being an interruption for her, just making her life just miserable. And one day, this is where I talk about the God moments in our lives. The superintendent and his cabinet ate lunch, and it was a private lunch. And Mrs. Leibowitz had a way of chauffeuring us through every single station to give us a real life experience. And I happened to be on the entree line that day. And I made chicken Kiev, rice pilaf, and I made carrots. I just remember this dish for the rest of my life. And I presented it on the plate very well. And Mrs. Leibowitz came from out of the dining room. Who's on entree? She's yelling and screaming. And I'm like, I actually didn't do nothing this time. I actually did what I was supposed to do. And she pulled me in the office and she goes, Steve Baity, where have you been? Like, you can do this? I didn't know you had this. And I began to tell her my life story about growing up in the projects and just how hard life was in public housing. And I says, you don't know my story. I says, none of my brothers have graduated from high school. My mother didn't graduate from high school. My father didn't graduate. I'm on course to be the first person in my family to graduate from high school. And she's like, Steve, you can go to college. And I said, who paying for college, woman? And she says, Steve, I'm gonna make a deal with you. If you give me your all, I'll give you my all. And we shook hands in her office in high school. And I began to sit in front of the class and I began to apply myself. And the leader came out. And when people began to overtalk her or whatever, I'm like, yo, chill, Mrs. Labe is talking. And so that became the exodus into my new genesis. And so I never forget that she would just bring me papers just to sign. And lo and behold, Mrs. Leibowitz was filling out scholarships for me. And she was calling colleges saying, I got this amazing culinarian. You guys need to see. And like schools are flying in to come see me and meet me. And I'm getting all these award letters, and I didn't apply for any of them. And she would just send stuff to home and say, tell your dad to sign this. And I'll be like, but then so that I say all of that to say that Mrs. Leibowitz saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and made it her mission to make sure that I became the fullness of God, what God intended. And so that took me to going to culinary school, to going to the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel to work for a certified master chef and Chris Madison, who I owe my life to from there being in contract management for over 20 years, to Food Network experiences, to this. And it's all because of a woman in high school who saw something in me and made it her life's mission.
Chef, is she still here today with us?
Unfortunately, Mrs. Leibowitz has passed away.
Mm,
But one of the great things about it is that she got to see it all.
Oh,
Yeah,
love it.
she got to see it all.
When
that
when you first told her, when she first started seeing it all, what was the look on her face?
Um, she had a poker face. She wasn't gonna let you smell yourself. She was gonna spray air freshener in the room before she let you smell yourself. Mrs. Leibowitz was hardcore. She didn't play. Like,
I'm just going to put it out there. I just love you. I love your energy, and I love you. But on a more serious note, oh Ed, I didn't think I was going to be laughing this much.
So, Charmaine, have you ever heard that saying before? I'm gonna let you smell yourself. So that's old Negro spiritual.
I just,
She's all tickled today.
I just want to say, it's so important to have powerful role models in your life, and she clearly was. And I mean, she could see your talent and you couldn't. And the point that we need to highlight is the fact that when people invest time in people that are willing to, demonstrate their talent, the point I'm making is more people need to do that actually.
I
Be more
agree.
complimentary,
Yeah.
spend more time supporting, enable people to see their best versions of themselves. Because I mean, you said you're a clown at times, right? And you can be a little bit silly. And people could have discounted you. She never did. She was
Yeah.
like, hey, this guy's got something. Let me help him. Believe in himself and bring out his talent. I like when you said she was screaming when you brought out the entree. Because
He was.
but she was so excited, right?
No, she was angry.
Why?
Because that's just how she was. She was an angry Greek woman. She yelled at everything. Even attendants, like roll call. Where's Beatty? And I'm like, I'm right here in front of you. Like, she was angry all the time.
Oh man, too
Wasn't
funny.
was she really angry, or was it just a personality? Because really angry people generally don't
You gotta
invest
be
in people.
careful of the short angry people.
Oh,
Gotta be
okay. Maybe
very.
I haven't been around too many short people then.
Have you been around? Have you been around Chihuahuas? Let me stop. I'm just teasing. I'm
No,
teasing.
no. Okay, no, but that was a beautiful share, and I'm sure your family was so proud of
Yeah.
of your achievement, being the first to go to college, and
Yeah.
and thank you for seeing it through, though, right? And
Yeah.
making it happen, because most people drop by the wayside actually when people just don't believe in them. So thank you for being you actually, and for
Yeah.
your talent and your willpower and your desire and your commitment. So yeah. Can I ask a question? What's your flippin' favorite food besides being funny? No.
I'm a simple guy. I'm a purist at heart. And, you give me a good bowl of cereal, like, and a big spoon.
Is it being funny again?
No. So let me. He posted something about this.
Yes,
Somebody did a
I
few months
did. It
ago.
was me.
Like chefs, what's your go-to food for yourself?
That was me.
And it
Yep.
was it was peanut butter and jelly, it was cereal, it was all these random things that
Yep.
we're like, you're eating this? It was
Yep. That
hilarious.
was me.
Are you okay? Are you being serious? Like really cereal? Is that
And so, like, and the cereal tastes better when it's out of, like, when you eat it out of a bowl that it's not designated for. Like, if it's a butter bowl or a margarine bowl or something like that, like a container that you reused and rewashed that you supposed to discard.
Okay, so let,
Cereal
let, let,
tastes better.
let me see where you're really from. Have you ever eaten cereal out of a bowl probably about this big?
Listen, I'm telling you, you have to sit on your lap and you have to put an arm around it.
Let me tell you something. Chef, when I was younger and still living at home and I used to do that, we had this big salad bowl. And I would load that salad bowl up with cereal and milk, and I'd sit there and eat it. And my mom walk in would lose it. She would,
Yeah,
why are you eating out of that big bowl? That bowl is not meant for cereal. I'm like, in my head, because I wasn't gonna say this out loud. I was like, today it is.
yeah.
You guys are crazy. That's why you guys are friends, clearly. Okay. Well, if anybody's interested, my favorite food is Italian, actually.
That's broad.
That's why when you, I have to say though, I agree with you with Ed. You didn't know me, but I did follow you a bit on LinkedIn. Actually, you respond to every single person's comment. I asked you for the recipe for your gnocchi, and you so beautifully like shared it with me. I tried it, and it was amazing without your seasoning. So thank you for being kind as well. Besides being funny, good looking, and a great cook and a great chef. So yeah,
Well,
and
thank
that's
you.
such an important trait. Yeah.
So, there's two things to that. And it's funny that you say that. Is that one thing is that many of us have entertained angels unaware, right? That's number one. The second thing is that I had an experience and I told myself I made a vow in my heart that I would never do that to someone. Is that I never forget the story of that, my first Food Network appearance. And mind you, there's artists from all over the country. And I saw this artist do something. And I asked him about the technique. And I asked him how he did it. And he looked me right in my eyes. He says, I will never show you anything. And I would never forget that moment because and he got kicked off the show. When he got kicked off, I was so happy. Lord, look, the Lord's still working on me. But I never forgot that I made a vow that, it's a
Sorry,
serious
Ed.
moment, Charmaine. It's a serious moment right now. But honestly, God can't put anything in your hand in a closed fist. And I says
Oh
Mm,
my
yeah.
my hands will remain open at all times.
that's great. So since you opened that door, let's talk about it. You've been on the Food Network um, several times.
Hmm.
You're Food Network champion.
Hmm.
Talk to us how that began. How did you even get invited to the show? And then share with us your whole experience during that time as well.
So I'm about to drop some jewels on that one because the only reason why I made it on the Food Network is that because you need friends in your life that are going to speak your name in rooms that you're not present.
Mhm.
That's how I got on Food Network. Is that they actually called someone else about the show to cast them, and they asked an open door question, and the question was, is there any other artist that is up and coming that we should know about? And the artist said, you need to look at my man Steve Baity. That's number one. The second thing is I tell young artists, culinarians, professionals, be mindful of what you put on social media. And
Mm.
so on my social media, I I was always just posting carvings and garmage and everything like that because that's a virtual resume. Because you just never know who's going to look you up or come across your page. And that was the second thing that happened was that ability for them to see that virtual resume, so to speak, and they reached out to me.
Such a
Hmm.
powerful statement you actually make. So thank you. Most of us don't realize that it is your virtual resume, and we're
Hmm.
not very intentional in what we put out there. So I'm so glad that he's smart, though, right? Because he's
He's
been doing the
talented as
work
crap. Yeah.
intentionally, and then when your name was dropped, I mean, the evidence was there already, and that's how you managed to get in. So yeah, I love your work actually. It used to come through my feed quite often. I haven't been on social media for a while. Yeah, you're very talented.
Thank you.
Love your plating, love your carving. I can't wait to taste his food. Ed, when you're coming out to South Africa, Chef Beatty.
That's on Ed. I keep telling Ed we need to do something, and find a reason to get out of the country, but
Let,
he's been dragging.
let me tell you something. I got a whole caravan of people that are ready to go.
That is right.
That are ready to go. They said, just let us know. We're coming to take over South Africa. So y'all just be ready for those Americans that are coming. So just stay tuned. But Chef, so let's go
We
back to the Food
we
Network.
wait.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go back to the Food Network. Talk to us about the time that series that you won. What was that whole experience like from start to finish and then realizing that you were the champion?
So that was 2015, and so I met two people, Froggy and Beth, who were my teammates, and that is real. I had never met Froggy or Beth before. We had never worked together, but literally when they say lights, camera, action, that's what they mean. And so that was literally, we have time to talk about our different talents or whatever, but you don't have a dry run. They don't do like a practice round and say, okay, you guys got an hour to practice and then we're going to let you guys go live. No, they turn that camera on and it's time to go, because that's what they want to see. You sweat, they want to see you nervous, they want to see you mess up, they want to hear you argue and bicker. That makes for good TV and drama. And so the great thing about meeting Froggy and Beth is that they were so seasoned and they were so focused and driven, just like I was. Is that although our first competition, our first display was an epic fail in front of millions of people. That's when Frozen first came out, and we were doing a quickfire challenge, and in my zeal and being zealous, we decided that we were going to take buttercream icing and put it on a watermelon rind. Well, it has a little bit of wax to it, and the buttercream didn't stick to it, and so all the frosting fell off of the watermelon. So essentially, Olaf's face fell off in front of millions of people. And that was my first taste of television and disappointment. But we went back to the green room, and I signed just about every LinkedIn post like this. And me and Froggy and Beth were talking, and I said, if we're gonna go home, let's leave it all out there. And I said, let's go. And we went and did this beautiful display. And after that, we won our first challenge. And then we went on to compete in 11 more challenges. And at the end, we ultimately won. But I remember, I actually have it recorded, that moment of just taking it all in. That just a kid from the south side of Canton, Ohio, who grew up in public housing, that now I'm a Food Network champion. And that's one of those things that in those arenas that no one could ever take from you, but it's all a part of the process also. So it's the ability to invest in yourself also. So I was literally on the job training every single competition. I was learning more and more, and I was just building on. And a lot of those things I had never done in my life, but I was being fearless and I was taking chances.
Love it. Charmaine, you look like you want to say something.
Sorry, I have. You guys are making me laugh so much, so I had to go clear my throat. That's such a
It's those
beautiful share.
dimples.
And the good heart and the
And then
talent.
he flashes them for you.
I
I
see
saw
it.
you.
So, Chef Baity, you said
Yeah.
in that share, there were so many beautiful parts to it, right? The fact that you guys failed, but
Hmm.
it fuels it fueled you guys to be able to go back. And when you said let's go, what did you mean in that moment? It's like, we can do this. It was like sucking yourself up.
Let's go is one of those things I said in that moment that you see in the movies where they say all gas no brakes. It
Mhm.
was like literally whatever talent you have, whatever ability you have, we're about to put it all out there, like hold nothing back. We're not putting anything in the reserves for a later showing, or whatever the case. I'm like, literally, if you have it, let's give it. And that's what I meant. Like, if you have a trick, that's a 1 point, a pony, one of your whatever it is, a unicorn, an elephant, a tiger that you blow balloons. I don't care. Let's do it. And so sometimes when your back is against the wall, that's how you got to come out. Like, let's swing, like whatever it is. I was so desperate for success that I was willing to leave it all out there.
Which is fabulous, though. There's an important lesson there, because you could have gone into your shell and go, oh, damn, we failed. A million people
Yeah.
saw us. And if you went with that attitude, that success would be far-fetched, I think, because you
Hmm.
were so powered and fueled to go and show everything, and you knew you could do more, and you didn't let that setback hold you back. That's a beautiful thing, actually. And people need to hone in or anchor what you just said about, let's go, let's do this, it's possible.
Hmm.
Failure is not failure, it's just how you see it. And
Hmm.
that's so thank you for sharing that. And okay, that's your low light. right? But the highlight having won. How did your life change actually? Did it?
So life, it's so it's people are so finicky, and this is what I mean. I was the same Stephen C Baity before I went on a show, and I was the same Stephen C Baity after. But it's something about when you're able to test yourself and survive in the public eye that you immediately have some sense of wisdom slash durability. Like your stock goes up, and you're the same
Mhm.
person, but just because you weathered the storm and you didn't break, or whatever analogy you want to use in the public eye, it immediately gives yourself a creed. And so right after the show, kind of became certified. You kind of go through that moment where um, you shut a lot of people up, and but yet the bullseye got bigger because now you become a Goliath, and everyone's a David, and now everyone wants to take down the Goliath. So people who I thought was friends or associates, whatever, they would make comments or whatever. You were like, "Whoa, I didn't do anything to you." What, like, oh, he think he's so and so. What do you mean? So like, I that opened up a whole nother door that I wasn't prepared for when it came to relationships in the public.
Mm,
Yeah. How did you? You said you weren't prepared for that, but how did you navigate that?
I didn't do
Like,
well.
oh, did you?
I
Okay.
didn't. No, no. I'll be completely honest. I didn't do well at all, because naturally being a people person, when people begin to shun you because they immediately, uh, because of their own insecurities, they place that on you, right? So now, oh, you think you better than me? I didn't do anything to you. What do you think? What, like, where is that coming from? Um, or if you would show up to their event to support them, and if you got more attention than them, then automatically they will hold that against you. So oftentimes I tell people, don't blow out, don't hide the sun just to light a candle. Like, and so I would make myself smaller at times just so other people wouldn't feel some type of way when I was around, or I wouldn't do maybe the most whimsical display because I didn't want them to feel some type of way. But I always say, don't hide the sun just to light a candle. Like, let that sun shine bright. So there was a lot of things that, like, I just didn't understand that I had to navigate through.
never shrink
I can
yourself, chef.
imagine
Don't shrink yourself.
people.
Because if you walk around with me, I'm going to be yelling, "The chef is here! The chef is here! The chef is here! The chef is here!"
But you make such a beautiful point, though. Not everybody celebrates other people's success,
No.
and that's the reality. And Ed, your point is so valid. You don't ever shrink yourself in any situation. And I know what you were trying to do, right? Because you're a good guy. You just don't want, you know, to have the limelight in you and all of those things. I mean, like people often say, you can use a candle to light more candles.
Hmm.
And that's what the world needs to do more of. And through your story, you're going to have an impact on so many people's lives, actually, how to stay humble
Hmm.
and just to be able to celebrate more people. Because if there's more people doing good in the
Hmm.
world and are successful, we'll have less unemployment, less poverty, less hunger, less hate, and more an amazing world, right? That's all we want to do. Each
I
one
agree.
just help another person be successful. Um, Chef,
Yes.
in 2015, how old were you?
Oh man, dang,
I mean,
I
talk
was
about his
30.
dimples, ask him about his age, his
I
height.
Well,
am. I'm just trying to
well,
understand how young you was because
so
a sense of maturity.
I'm about to turn 43 this year. So you do the math. I'm not good with math. That's what accountants are for. And
If you're about to turn 43,
Oh
so
goodness.
2015, you were born in 1980, weren't you?
yes.
Okay.
Charmaine,
So you
did you,
were 35.
real quick, Charmaine. He's about to turn 43. The number three popping up for you again.
Oh my God. When's your birthday, by the way? No, don't say it.
August 5th.
Oh my God, he's a Leo. We weren't supposed to be having this comment. Okay, so you're 43. I love the number three. So, oh, okay. So you were around 35. when you had this beautiful experience.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to go back a bit. So if you weren't a chef, what would you have been? Don't tell
So
me a basketball player because you have the height.
no, so I'll tell you, I had a whole plan. So so I just gotta paint the picture for you. So growing up in the projects, like, it was just all about alcohol and dope. Like it was just like you got to remember, it's the 80s. It's the high of the crack cocaine era. It was just messy. Like it was just nasty. It was ugly. And so I watched what it meant to buy a 8 ball, a quarter, a kilo, or whatever it was, to break it down, bag it, and then you put people on, they sell it, they bring the money back, or whatever the case might be. And I saw nothing but business around me. So I always wanted to be a lawyer because I used to watch Law and Order growing up. And so it was something about the suits and the briefcase and everything like that. I used
It
to
was
love.
Blair Underwood, right?
No, you got crushes on everybody.
Wasn't he part of Law and Order?
No, focus, Charmaine, focus.
Okay, let me focus.
And so, but I was enthralled with the look of the suit and the briefcase. And so I still have my career passport that I saved from like the fourth grade. And I was actually on track to be a young scholar, and I had a full ride scholarship. And
Oh,
I got distracted, man. Like the environment just was not good. And I lost my scholarship to be a lawyer. And so, but that's when I talk about meeting a Rebecca Labitz who totally changed my life, because at that point I had no direction. I had no understanding of what I wanted to be from that point, because I was so unfocused and distracted that here it is, I had a gift and I misrepresented the gift, and I lost it because I didn't apply myself. So I wanted to be a lawyer.
Hmm,
okay.
that's good. So let's switch gears a little bit, Chef.
Yeah, switch them up.
First of all, if you guys are not following Chef on social media, you need to. He has some amazing pictures out there. Well, when I first saw one of your food carvings, my mouth fell open, and I literally started sharing it with anyone that would listen because I thought it was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen before. It's
Mhm.
one time, every now and then, you might see it pop on TV, but to see just a bunch of your carvings online, it was absolutely beautiful. How did you get into food carving?
So you, it's survival. Um, I'm not an artist. And when I say a classic artist, because people will say, when I say that, they're very quick to interrupt me and say, "Well, you carve fruit and you're a chef, so you're an artist." But I'm not a classical artist where drawing, sketching, clay, pot, any of that. Like that is not my background at all. Okay, but I know how to hustle, and I've always been one to survive. And so when I was 19 years old, when I was at the hotel, there was a chef from Hawaii who I didn't pay attention to, but every now and again he would create these great visual masterpieces, and we would use them on the buffets. I didn't talk to him, really didn't pay him no respect or interest, but I would just see it. And when I was 19 years old, a gentleman by the name of Dave Hennis gave me the keys to his brand new kitchen, and he says, "You can run it." Now, on opening night, we're doing a cocktail reception, and there's other chefs there. They're doing ice carving, tallow, galantines, ballantines. They're doing all kinds of very intricate ice carvings and whatever. And I was making like cocktail meatballs because I'm 19 years old. That's all I know, right? And um survival kicked in, right? And so I'm like, what can I do to like set myself apart? And I went to the arts and crafts store, like a Michaels or a Joanne Fabrics, and I bought a pumpkin carving kit. And I took that pattern and I put it on a watermelon, and I poked the holes in it, and I used a little saw, and I made a watermelon jack-o'-lantern. And I had all of these all over my display. And the owner, Dave, was like, "This is why we hired this guy. No one else is doing these." And I'm like, Yeah, y'all need to step y'all game up because y'all ain't never had a Stephen Beatty up here. And but it was a gimmick, and I ran out of patterns because Halloween season is coming on. They're not selling the patterns anymore. So how am I supposed to get these patterns? You got to remember, it's early 2000s. I'm not like, what am I gonna do? And I Googled fruit and vegetable carving, and that's the second part of my life that changed forever. Is that I came across Thai fruit and vegetable carving. Now, we have a problem is that I don't have access to Thai fruit and vegetable carving equipment, knives, and all these kind of things. So I went and bought an Exacto blade, and I used that was the closest thing that I could get to carving tools from Thailand, and my carvings were absolutely trash. They were horrible. They were, oh my God, they were bad. But they were unique and they were original, and the owner loved them. Well, many years of trial and error, sitting on the front porch at the dining room table, one day the light bulb went off, and the technique, muscle memory clicked. And I knew some odd reason I held the knife right, I made the cut, and then that started the journey of being a self-taught fruit and vegetable carver.
Hmm. Wow.
Confirmation, anything's possible if you put your mind to it, right? And hustle hard.
Facts.
That's such a yeah. I mean, I've seen his work too. It's amazing.
It is.
Um,
It is.
on
It's the type
LinkedIn.
of stuff
Yeah.
that you don't even want to eat. You just want to sit there and look at, take some pictures with it,
Hmm.
and not even eat it.
Hmm.
It's just art.
It's the God gene. I tell everyone that. Like on this side of my life, I tell everyone that they have a God gene. So if we're made in God's image, and God is a creator, we're made to create. So I tell everyone that is that you got to utilize your God gene, and we're all creatives, and you're all supposed to. That is in our DNA, is to be able to create something that's going to have impact in life, and so that just happens to be my God gene. Is my creativity that transfers into food. So oftentimes your God gene might be either finances or your ability to have social media, or sometimes your God gene is just being a great father or mother or being a coach or whatever that case might be. But your God gene is to be able to create moments, entities, and substance that benefits other people's lives.
I just love that. We can
That
close the show now.
that was that
Sorry.
was that was that was
Drop the
that was
mic.
just great. I'm like, ooh, the God gene. Hmm. I
No,
might
but
have to write something
that's
about that. That's good.
It's the truth.
it is the truth though. And people need to realize that to be able to have impact for their own lives. Because if you happy and in a good space, it's easier to infuse that to the other people in the world, right? And
Hmm.
it's such a beautiful God gene. Edwin,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
No, I don't know what mine is. So
I think you're. I think.
I'm still trying to figure mines out. So,
I think
You're-
you're a good networker actually, and a good human. You try and make an impact in every single person you actually meet, and you're very tolerant. He's more
yeah,
tolerant than I am actually.
I'm married.
I just
See, I can mess with her because she doesn't watch it that often. She picks and chooses what shows she wants. But I do know my mother-in-law watches religiously. So hey.
chef. I know. Were you able to balance your 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 professional life in terms of what you do with your
Mhm.
home life? And
No.
okay, talk to us a little bit about that.
So, so society has this way of telling you, and shouldn't say tell you, conditioning you
Hmm.
that a man goes to work, he makes the money, he comes home, he gets the big piece of chicken, he sits at the head of the table, right? Then the kids are quiet when I get home, and I sit down on the couch, I get my beverage, and I watch sports.
Hmm.
That's the man, and he pays the bills, right? And that's a man. And so I grew up with um a vow that I made in my heart that I would never be poor, right?
Okay.
I grew up in a vow that I made in my heart that my family would always be taken care of. And not saying that my parents didn't take care of me, not saying that. But
Sure.
my version of being taken care of is totally different. And because I had those vows in my heart, is that when I was married, um, I ignored all of the warnings that I was not plugged into the house because I was so focused on my career. I was so focused on the next high, the next magazine, being picked up by the next show, that you forget that the reason why you come together. And so, what it taught me was divorce is that number one, you have to be very intentional. Number one. Number two is that communication is everything. And is
Mm.
that because someone tells you their expectations, is that you can't take that personal. And so oftentimes, and when I was married, I was listening to respond. I wasn't listening to understand. So I was listening to pick up the one thing in the conversation that she was saying that would be my blowback, that I could put it back in her court, and be like, well, I did this because of you. And if you did X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't have to do this. And so I wasn't communicating. And so what I found out was is that um, you got to operate as a team. You have to communicate. And you got to learn how to be transparent. And I was so focused on being hard that when I even in my struggles is that I didn't communicate that, and I just began to devolve even more because I didn't communicate. If I was having a bad day, I did. If I was having anxiety and fear, because I thought my role as a man was I got to make the money. And if I don't make the money, I'm failing as a man. I'm not a good father. I'm not a good husband. And so I was just so focused on that, I missed everything.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And it's such a common sort of story for men, actually. We
For
had a few on this, yeah,
so many men we
across the
get,
globe.
and
Mm.
I can use myself as an example. I was so wrapped up in career, doing everything that you just said, making sure that all the bills were paid and my family was well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to take your eye off what's really important, because jobs and positions, they come and go.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing the right thing, your family going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
many of us fail. So many men, we fail at that
Mm-hmm.
completely. So I thank you for being transparent, because a lot of individuals are not transparent with that part of their lives. Sharing when yeah, I failed in divorce, and it was my fault. A lot of times we try to point the finger at, well, she didn't do this, she didn't do that. But a lot of times we have to look in the mirror. What did we do? What didn't we do?
Mm-hmm.
So much respect for the reflection, actually,
So
the learning. Yeah.
accountability, whether it's personal or professional, is one of those things that if you get older and you mature, that's actually you take away skill level. If you're a person that could be accountable, that's going to get you in more places and open more doors than your skill or your talent ever will. And for instance, I used to have a cook that would be late every day, but I would tell him, I was like, yo, you're not here like you need to be here. And his response was, well, I don't like this job. No, no, the job, your ability to plan your day before you get here is causing you to be late, which causes anxiety, which causes me to ride your back because you're not here when you need to be, and other people are depending on you. But he would never be accountable, like, yo, I'm not here on time, which causes me to, the chef, to be on my back, which causes people to wait. And it was always be an effect because he was not accountable to himself.
Mm.
And so oftentimes, if you're accountable, then people can teach you and then people can pour into you, is that you don't have the hole in the bottom of your cup. And so that's the thing that has made me a better person, is that when I became accountable, even like I said, in divorce, even to sit down with my kids and say, tell my kids, your hero failed you, but your hero is going to work hard to bridge the gap. And so that's another thing I think that parents, we have to stop telling kids just deal with it or accept it. Is that that relationship, I had to solidify it, and I had to own up what it meant as a parent not to fulfill and be everything I needed to be for my children. As much as a great human as I thought I was, is that that was a dark place that I did not do and uphold my rank and title.
I'm usually not speechless. I just
You
love
can
your
pick the
share
mic.
and the
You can
fact
pick
that
the mic up off the floor now, because that was a mic drop moment. Like we could have ended the show right there. Like, yeah, a lot of men in particular need to hear that message right there.
Well, you need to get him back on the Men on the Journey podcast that you're hosting, because that's such a beautiful lesson share,
Oh, trust me.
to impact men and children. Actually, I mean, you strike me as being a good dad as well. The ability to have this conversation and be as transparent and authentic is a beautiful thing, actually.
Hmm.
So thank you. So many lessons
So,
people could get out of
oh,
this. Yeah.
there's a lot of lessons. So, Chef, you and I were talking some years ago, and you
Yes.
were packing to head overseas
Yes.
for something I never ever heard of.
Yes.
That you had me googling in
Yes.
awe and in amazement. Chef, can you
Yes.
tell these people
This
what
sounds so
this
exciting. What is
what
it?
tell people what this was, what it is, and what you did? Please
Yes.
reach up for
So
something.
here's something that it was, man, when I talk about being fearless, and this is why I tell people, man, it's like you don't have to have it all figured out. Sometimes you just got to go, because you could talk yourself out of blessings by trying to be too prepared. Okay. So in 2020, I signed up to compete in the Culinary Olympics, the IKA Culinary Olympics in Stuttgart, Germany, doing fruit and vegetable carving. Now, mind you, I had a passport, never used it. I don't speak German. I call myself being fluent in Spanish, but all I can say is cool words. And so I had never shipped produce overseas. I did none of this stuff. But you know what? Your boy said, I'm Stephen C Baity. I own the world. Let's pack some bags. We're going overseas. Life got real. Real. Like custom seized all my produce. I'm in I'm driving around Germany trying to get produce. I had never competed internationally before. Um, but I'm in survival mode. I'm in um I'm in redemption mode, and I won 2 awards in the Olympics my first time out in 2020, and facts. And so I was the only black competitor in my genre also, and so that
How many people were there?
so there was 128 countries there
And you were the only black person there.
in my genre that
Yeah.
competed.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. Congratulations, actually.
Thank
No
you.
bill, no meat, no fruits, no, you should now you know, right?
Yeah.
But I love your spanking attitude. It's like you always make a plan. And that's such a beautiful lesson, actually. You know,
So with that being said, I started a journal, and I'm gonna give this to my son when he turns 18.
mhm.
And this journal, I write all my highs, my lows, encouragement. And I was in Stuttgart, Germany, February 16th on a Sunday, and I wrote everything that it cost for that moment. And I wrote a note to my son telling him, um, I said, to my knowledge, I was the only African American competitor. I'm self taught. On this level is unreal. I don't belong here, but God saw fit that I wanted it so bad. And I go on to talk about I'm in uncharted waters, doing things I have never dreamed of. My children motivate me, and I name their names. I want to leave a legacy so they would be proud of me. And I just went on and on and on and on. But I captured that moment in this journal, that others, and especially my kids, can know what it's like to chase your dreams in that moment.
Chef, and you already know
So
where this is coming from. Your gifts and talents will make room for you.
Big
Place you
fact.
place you before great men.
Hmm.
Charmaine, that's a quote. That's a quote from the Bible.
now I realized that I was just moved
Char,
by the
Charmaine, like,
fact
yeah.
that your son's going to get to read that and that's going to inspire him. So thank you for capturing that and sharing it with us, actually.
Hmm.
To our viewers that's going to be listening to it. It's such a special moment. The capturing the story and the fact that you said you felt like you didn't belong there and you won 2 prizes, right? So
Hmm.
don't let that self yeah, don't let anything stop you on achieving your goals and your games. So sorry, it was yeah. So I knew that was a bloody question. Sorry, I didn't mean to use the word bloody.
You're
I
fine.
love it.
he, he always does that to me.
Chef, I don't know if she's laughed as much on any show that we've done. She's been laughing the whole time. You know
He's
what? You know what it
funny. I
is?
mean,
You know what it is, Chef?
What's
It's
up?
that nervous laugh, those dimples. Every time you flash those dimples,
no,
she just starts
no.
laughing. See the
I'm
smile on her
used to
face?
dimples. My son has two
I'm
dimples, just
joking.
like you. Um, my dad too. No, so it's just you have a way about you. It's like you can become an actor. You can do anything actually. You can still go become that lawyer you want. So if that's the dream, you can still do it. Um, yeah. Okay. So wait, I'm pretty speechless. Find something
Okay.
else to ask. It
So
was
chef,
amazing.
I mean,
What's up?
you've done so much. You can look over your shoulders and just seen a lot of things that you've done. I know you and
Hmm.
I talked about your next season, what you're going to you're embarking on. But if you could paint a picture
Yeah,
or draw a carving of
yeah.
what the next chapter of your life looks like, what does that look like?
Unapologetic.
Ah,
Nice.
Um, and when I say that, people immediately think disrespectful. I don't know why they correlate you being unapologetic with it being disrespectful. But when I say unapologetic, is that I literally mean that oftentimes I don't know where this has come from, but the stigma of my ability to be happy, to be fruitful, to be driven, to be satisfied is based off of validation from external sources and people that don't know me, my or nor my journal, my journey, right? And so when I say I'm unapologetic, it literally means that it's okay for your mental health and self health to worry about you
hmm.
and take care of you. Because when I'm a better version of me, I can take care of the people around me better. And so when I say unapologetic, I literally mean is that I literally have to do what's best for me.
Mm, that's good.
And especially where we find ourselves, so many people need to actually hear that story because people are taking care. I mean, that statement that you just made, everybody's just taking care of everybody else and not looking after their own good. So, and unapologetic is not being arrogant, in my view. It's being able to just do you as long as you don't hurt anybody. You know, that hashtag it, just do
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
No, we had a woman from
Dubai.
Lebanon that
But
lives
yeah,
in
what lives in
Dubai,
Dubai now? Yeah.
and her, yeah, and she always goes. I mean, the hashtag, just do you, just be who you are, and that's the only thing that actually matters in the world.
Hmm. Yep. The other part of this is that the legacy part. So I always say there's two lives that we live. So we're gonna have the horizontal part where it's all about career, money, materials, and everything like that, right? But then we have the part of your life that I'm entering into, and it's the legacy. It's the vertical part,
Mm.
and this is I'm really concentrating on the vertical part of my life right now, and that's going to be the co-branding, the Stephen C Baity brand, and more importantly, the Pop Secret seasoning, which is a very important piece of my life right now. Where I lost my father a few years ago,
Sorry.
and very unexpectedly. And Pops was the wisest guy that I knew. So my wit, my humor, that's I get that from my father. My father, he taught me how to command a room, how to use humor, how to engage people, how to be present. Like my father taught me all of those things. And so my mother taught me how to love people. And so you take those two elements of controlling a room and loving people that's how you got the Stephen C. Beatty that you have before me today. And so the Pop Secret seasoning is that we're getting ready to go through the co-packing process. So we're probably about 3 months out that we can ultimately have the seasoning line pitched to grocery stores. So we're in that process, which I'm very, very proud of. And it's been so much work to get to that point. So that's going to allow because you need resources for change. That is just a reality. It's not enough to have a big heart and to do podcasts, but you got to have resources oftentimes to make genuine change. And so that having resources is going to allow me to do that. So that's the legacy.
Oh, fabulous. Can I ask what does the C stand for?
Whew, can't tell you what the C stands for.
Okay.
Nah, I'm just
But
messing. It's Christopher. So
I
my
thought it was
Oh, okay.
I thought it was Cleophas. You know, we saw you see Charmaine's face.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. My father's name is Stephen. My mom's name is Christine. And so my parents argued when I was born who I look like more. And so they ended up, my mom wanted to call me Christopher, first name. My dad was like, nah, he's named after me. So they split hairs and named me after each
Okay.
one of them. So Stephen Christopher.
Okay. Any plans of actually you getting it to the grocery stores in the US only? Intend taking it out globally?
So,
Next step?
so here's the thing: is that I've learned this also is that I'm not that smart. I just cook, right? So there's some other people that are a lot smarter than me that's going to have to talk about distribution, that
Okay.
I don't know, tariffs, trades, taxes, whatever it is, whatever it looks like to get overseas. People in business development get paid lots of money to figure out
To
how to
do
get
that
other
for you.
places.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah,
You strike me as a visionary guy. I mean, you think about things and you kind of make it happen. So I thought in your vision, do you see it going globally? But you've indicated you didn't even think it through. You just got you guys doing it. That's cool.
I
yeah,
will simply say that I actually purchased some pops seasoning.
yeah.
First of all, I just did it because just to support you.
I
And
know
then
you did.
all right, let me try this stuff.
Yeah,
I put it on
right?
some, I put it on some chicken. Yes, yes, we like chicken. I put it on some chicken, and it was absolutely amazing. And oh yeah, so I got five. I highly recommend. So speaking of that, where can people, until they hit the grocery stores, where can they purchase the pop season?
Yeah, so it's available online. There's an online marketplace. So if you just Google my name, stephencbaity.com, you have access actually to all of the links to social media, to the store, to the personal chef experience that I do offer, and also just in general, just to keep up on the media and just my calendar. So hit the website, stephencbaity.com, and then you got access to everything that you need to know.
I love it. So Stephen, this is one of the questions, one of the versions of those questions I ask everyone as we get ready to wrap up this show. I know you do a lot in the way of mentoring.
Hmm.
But I would love for you to talk to those young boys and girls across the world that are either in the projects, the barrios, the slums, whatever you want to call them. What
Hmm.
advice would you give them? Because sometimes they don't see a way out. Let's just be honest. I mean, I've met some young people that didn't expect to live past 25.
Hmm.
So, what kind of advice or knowledge would you like to drop on them?
Man, so it's actually two things that I tell people, and I love to close out any segment that I ever can offer is that number one, your only competition is your reflection in the mirror. So I tell people, go find a mirror, look at that reflection, that's your competition. Because even on your best day, if no matter if you're a basketball player and you practice every single day, you're never going to be a LeBron James or Michael Jordan, even if you practice every single day, because you're uniquely and fearfully and wonderfully made. You are you. All right. So find a mirror, look at that reflection. That's your competition. Number two, I tell people to push the rock. And I go, what does that mean? And I tell a quick story about there was a young man that had a dream and he was praying to God. And he was praying, he was praying that he wanted to be a chef for argument's sake. And God told him to go down into the middle of town and there's a big rock and to go push this rock. And young man was thinking, I don't know what the rock has to do with me being a chef, but because I believe and I have faith, I'm going to go down to the middle of town and I'm gonna push this rock. And so he goes to the middle of town and he's pushing this rock, and his rock is massive, it's huge, and the rock isn't moving. And he goes in day after day, week after week, month after month. But in the midst of him pushing the rock, that people begin to gather around and they begin to talk about him. They begin to laugh and they begin to take pictures and they're posting on social media and they're being very critical of him in this process. And over a period of time, the young man becomes discouraged. And he says, he goes home and he says, God, I'm done. This is dumb. It's not working. People are clowning me. The stupid rock isn't moving. It's too big for me. And the God says to him, he says, the point of me telling you to push the rock is it wasn't for you to be able to move the rock, but because of the rock, look at your arms, how much stronger they are. So now you can carry the burden of this gift that you're given. Look at your legs on how strong they are. It says now you have the stamina to walk the journey that's before you. He says, look at your skin and how tough it is because of listening to the words and reading the comments from people around you. It says, now you're able to silence the naysayers. And so the point of view pushing the rock is that not that the rock was going to move, but it was designed to prepare you to be the person that you need to be to carry your gift and go on this journey. So I tell young men and women, push the rock.
Charmaine, unless you have another question or comment.
Have you considered being a motivational or an inspirational speaker? Because that's your next
Now I'm
part
saying
of your legacy.
the storytelling chef. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. That's good.
You have a
Charmaine,
special gift to be able to share messages in a way that's going to land and inspire. So all I can say, Chef Stephan Baity, thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. It's been such a pleasure and a joy. And I love the way you're so vulnerable. You were vulnerable actually, and your authenticity is actually it's a gift to the world. You have many gifts. You know it. You realize it. We don't have to reinforce it all of the time, but just from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you for the work that you do, the way you've inspired, and the way you've actually grown into this amazing human being. I don't know you as a child, but your story just inspires me on so many levels. So, Mr. A. Dudley, thank you for bringing another boy into your room, and which is not my boyfriend. So, yeah.
Yeah. Chef, and you know how I feel about you, my brother.
Much respect.
I appreciate you. I value you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for being an amazing role model for so many. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing the rock, because I know that you're still pushing the rock. You're pushing the rock in another direction now. I'm excited to watch you go in that direction. Thank you for spending some time with us in the Ubuntu house as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So to everyone, this has been an amazing session with the one and only Chef Stephan C Baity. Go check him out on his website. More importantly, step up your seasoning game. If you're just using salt and pepper, shame on you. Get some pop seasoning in your life. With that, everyone have a great day, great evening, or great night, depending on where you're tuning in. Thank you, everybody.
Love and light, everyone. Take good care.